Seven for sure is one of my favorite movies of all time. Obviously, the ending is just heart-wrenching, right?
The best part of that movie is the one frame when he's like, oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God.
The like horribleness of the entire situation is all becoming clear to him. And then there's one frame and it's a white flash of Gwyneth Paltrow's face. And then that's when he looks up. You see he's made the decision and he pulls the trigger. And I love that.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another great episode of Back to the Podcast with your host, Justin Neal, and I am Chris Lawler. Today, we are going to be taking a little bit of a left turn and looking at Neo-Noir films. This is definitely just another one of those special topics, and I know it got you really excited when you brought this one up as an idea, so I would love to know why this topic gets you so excited, especially since we have to spend an entire episode on it, and I had to do some real research here. So why this specific topic here, man?
So I love noirs. I always have.
Okay.
I like movies that are dark.
Obviously.
And noirs originally started as more of a crime detective genre in black and white. And then, of course, after 59, it went to color. And so anything kind of in color is considered a neo-noir. But what's cool about noirs, too, is that it isn't super defined. So you could make a case that certain things are noir when you wouldn't necessarily think of it in terms of like classical detective stories.
I'm with that because my list was a little all over the place, but I was like, no, this all fits.
No, this counts.
Yeah.
And so in the 90s, there was a surgence, I think, of dark noirs. And it's not that I approve of these things in real life, but in terms of cinema, in terms of storytelling, to me at that time, those were the movies that really pushed the boundaries of cinema in the mid-90s, and they were all noirs. And I didn't think of them as noirs at that time. It wasn't until I was older and I started studying 20th century American cinema that I learned what a noir was and where it started with something like The Maltese Falcon, which I've seen several times.
Keep asking for it and you're gonna get it. Plenty. I told you to shove off. Shove off. People lose teeth talking like that. If you want to hang around, you'll be polite.
Which I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this, though. The list I've compiled is of great films. When I was looking at this, I was like, wow, each one of these is considered a very great cinematic feature.
Absolutely.
Very iconic of its time.
There's so much good stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
When I first brought it up, you're like, oh, I don't even, because you were immediately thinking like detective stories, probably.
That's kind of what I was thinking of, yeah.
I could see it going through your brain, like, what detective stories are there?
It was fun because by doing the research, I realized a lot of things fit in here.
All kinds of movies that I know you love.
All kinds of
are
them.
considered noir, so I knew that this would give us a good pool to draw from.
We're going to have some fun with this one for sure today.
Yeah, I'm in.
But of course, before we even dive into episodes, we always like to catch up on things. You've been sick. I've been sick.
Yeah.
That means I usually binge a lot of stuff when I get down like that. How about you? Did you watch anything good?
Actually, I went down for like 48 hours, but when I got back up, I finally watched the latest episode of one of my favorite things.
What's that?
So I'm a huge old Top Gear fan.
Okay.
BBC's Top Gear with Jeremy Clarkson
Yes,
and
you are.
James May and Richard Hammond. That's one of my favorite shows. If not my favorite show of all time. And then after Clarkson got booted off the BBC and the boys went with him,
And hello. Oh dear. This is a bit embarrassing.
they relocated to Amazon and started the Grand Tour.
Oh, okay.
It's quite normal.
Which is essentially just Top Gear with like 40 times the budget that they had at the BBC. And eventually they just stopped doing regular episodes and they only do the specials now, which is usually when they're like given a certain car and they have to do something to it and take it from point A to point B. And it's usually really far away through dangerous territory. And that's kind of part of the adventure. And so the latest one is called Sand Job.
You are currently in a Foreign Office red zone. So behave yourselves. Jesus! Bloody hell! Ah! You're in a minefield. Back up exactly where you...
They're in Western Africa doing the like Dakar rally type thing. And so they've modified them to do off-roading and they go on adventure in West Africa. It's fantastic. So if you like Top Gear or the Grand Tour, it's a great episode. Sand job.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's definitely different from our normal conversation, but that's the type of TV you like.
Top Gear was one of the most popular shows in the entire world in its heyday.
Are you ready? We are revolutionizing the world of cowboying.
I was late to that show. I only found it on YouTube eventually and started kind of binging it that way. I wasn't even aware of its popularity.
I discovered it when we were on our honeymoon in London in 2010. We were getting ready for dinner and I just turned on the TV.
The telly.
Yeah, exactly. Some wacky British television, but it was one of the episodes of Top Gear and it was just these three British guys kind of making fun of each other and bumbling around and driving these cars. And I was like, what is this show? And then I came back from our honeymoon.
You're hooked.
I have every episode and it's pretty much been playing in the background ever since.
God.
So when they moved to the Grand Tour at Amazon, of course, I followed along, and that's a super popular show as well.
Okay.
But anyway, that's one of my favorite shows because it's not movie-based.
Right.
You know what I mean? I like cars as well.
I know you do, yes.
And so it's how I unplug out of cinema mode. Like I go to Cars and Top Gear and the Grand Tour is kind of, just the temple for that.
I'm not a big car guy, but that is definitely a very fun, entertaining show.
Sure. So you get
They
it.
make it very appealing to everyone.
Yeah, totally.
Once I started watching it, I did get hooked in. It was hard not to.
They're fun. Those are my boys.
I mean, even when you're saying you're taking a break from cinema, they shoot things so beautifully and cinematically too.
Now they do because they have such a huge budget. And actually, that was one of the things about old Top Gear that supercharged it, pun intended, versus its competition is they tried to like up the stakes and have explosions and cars going sideways very fast and things like that, which lends itself to cinema shooting techniques, which is fun to watch. What have you been watching since we've been sick? What did you binge?
Oh man, we binged a lot of things, but I wanted to bring up an accidental triple feature.
Ooh, I got a couple triples on my list today, actually.
But sometimes these happy accidents show up. We just pick a movie. I'm not thinking much about what I'm picking. I'm just, that'll be comfort food.
Yeah.
Right. Let me throw that in. I don't feel good. And we ended up kind of watching this triple feature. I was like, there's a running theme in the three movies that I just watched.
Oh, yeah.
We watched Soap Dish, which is drama behind a soap opera is better than the drama written for the soap opera. And then we watched Noises Off,
Which I love.
which is the drama behind the theater.
It's very clever.
And then we watched Radioland Murders, which is kind of the chaos behind the scenes of a radio show. Only with the chaos behind the scenes was really the running theme
of show business.
And of course, Radioland Murders is one of my favorites. I did a lot of reading up on that movie when we were sitting there because I was like, I don't know much about the making of this. They were working in that film for over 20 years, apparently, before it finally got greenlit and made.
Oh, wow.
And then it made no money back. Hence why I'm always surprised when I meet someone like how we met. I'm like, how have you seen this movie?
Because I know what that movie is.
We saw it in the theater. So the $1.5 million that it made
was all you.
I put a little percentage in there. Yeah.
You got skin in the game. You're an investor.
Yeah. And Soap Dish is just one of those other like great guilty pleasures. Are you familiar with Soap Dish? Tell me you've seen that one.
I know what it is, but I've actually never seen the whole thing all the way through. But it used to play on TV all the time.
It's hilarious.
And I don't think I knew what it was when I was younger, what it actually was.
Okay.
Or maybe I would have been too young to appreciate it. But I think that's one of those I could probably go back and watch now and totally get the joke.
Soap Dish has got a huge list of actors. RDJ in there, Whoopi Goldberg, Carrie Fisher, Sally Field steals every scene that she is in that one. And of course, Kevin Kline.
That's what I think of when I think of Soap Dish. I think of Sally Field.
Yeah, she has like 7 mental breakdowns in this one film.
Me, America's sweetheart. Oh, God.
Great.
And she's the best at having that fake on-screen cry.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the risk you run here, that it will be over the top and not funny. Because we're so far over the top, we don't know where the bottom is anymore.
Soap Dish was amazing. And then to have all 3 of them, and especially Noises Off, something that does not get played enough in this household.
Most people don't know about Noises Off. In fact,
Such a good one.
you're probably the only other person that I can think of in the past 20 years that has brought that movie up to me.
Wow.
I love Noises Off. It's very clever. It's like Clue.
Yeah.
That's what it makes me think of. And I like the idea of, you say something witty, clever, one person goes through a door, another person comes out, then they say something they don't know about the other, then they go through the other door, other person comes out. And It's just miscommunication and misunderstanding. It's a comedy of errors.
Yeah.
And I love comedy of errors.
So we got to move on then to the neo-noir and the noir.
Yeah, let's talk about some dark movies.
I mean, after doing some research on just the definition of this, I was like, okay, so the neo-noir is just more modern.
Yeah.
And that started around the 60s and 70s. And unfortunately, I started looking at some of those movies from the 60s and 70s, and it was sad. I haven't seen them. One of the big ones that kept coming up was Chinatown with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Roman Polanski directed.
Gotta add that right up there to my list of shame. Just like one of those movies that's talked about in this very iconic kind of manner.
It's true.
How it's a legendary film, and I've just never seen it. So
I never liked Chinatown as much as it was talked about.
oh, you've seen it. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it 2 or 3 times because I keep trying because it's it's considered this classic noir.
Mhm.
So like I'll give it a shot and then I watch it and I'm like, yeah, that was fine. There's nothing about Chinatown that hooks me for some reason.
Well-
It's never hooked me or it hasn't hooked me yet. So that's nothing against the movie.
Yeah.
I just haven't had like a profound experience watching it yet like other people apparently have. And Nicholson's great. I mean, everybody's great in it.
Yeah, LA Confidential is another one of those.
I love LA Confidential. That's on my
Was that on your list for today? Did I ruin it?
And that is on my list. That one does hook me.
Okay.
I like that movie.
Well, then let's just start with that one because I've seen it and it didn't hook me.
Right on.
That one is one of those ones I've seen, I think, twice.
It's a throwback.
Yeah, I don't know. It's slow. It's not my kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing such good acting, but I didn't really care about what the story or plot was. But I also go back to, was my mindset right when I sat down and watched that? I think I was like staying the night at a buddy's house and there was like nothing else on and we threw that on and I was barely paying attention to it.
Maybe you're expecting something else too.
Yeah, maybe.
And also, the thing about noirs is they don't generally have a good person as a protagonist, just as a general rule. It's not a world inhabited by good people. It's usually a world inhabited by varying degrees of bad people, like Robert Rodriguez's Sin City. It's just like, what flavor of bad are you?
Yeah, right.
And that's one thing that I like about noirs is like you don't go in there to necessarily root for someone. In fact, you might be rooting for everyone to lose because they're all bad people, but that can be fun too.
I agree with you. I'm glad you brought up Sin City because that is on the list as well.
I thought it might be.
Yeah.
Once you started looking into it.
I tell her I love her. I'll never know what she was running from. I'll cash her check in the morning.
I saw that in the theater. Did you?
I can't remember.
In 05?
I think I missed that one in the theater.
Okay.
But of course, it's become one of my favorites. The wife hates how much I throw that one on.
Sin City?
But I'm like, it's so stylish and it's fun. And
An old man dies. A young woman lives. Fair trade.
Bruce Willis is amazing in that film. And then the weirdness that Elijah Wood brings to his role.
Just the eyes.
It's so weird. And then, of course, Mickey Rourke.
Open up, police!
I'll be right out.
That, I think, was the movie that made him a celebrity again. Everyone, I think, was taken aback by how good he looked in that movie.
Yeah. His kind of resurgence. He was also in Man on Fire, which came out the year before, which I know you're not as big of a fan of as I am, but that was part of the build up to his sort of brief resurgence in the mid 2000s.
Tony was giving me his cigars to smoke at the table, and they got me high. So that we started laughing.
Guys, you got one more in you. Excellent, great, excellent. Mickey, Mark, excellent, guys, really good.
I don't know if Tony will use any of that, but we certainly had a good day.
And then didn't he do Iron Man 2, right? No, that would have been like...
Oh, that's right, with the whips.
But yeah, Sin City, I think is amazing. Frank Miller, Robert Rodriguez, and Quentin Tarantino had directing moments in this film.
Yeah, they all helped out.
Robert Rodriguez apparently left the Guild to share credits with Frank Miller.
I remember that.
Yeah.
He already had issues with the Directors Guild anyway, which we'll see in one of my upcoming solos.
Sneak peek, y'all.
Yeah, about Robert Rodriguez, but he already had issues with the Directors Guild. So I actually remember when that happened and he left the Guild because they wouldn't let him share credits. Like, yeah, but that's been building for a long time. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he went ahead and just did it.
I love it.
And he didn't care.
I was like, yeah.
And then Tarantino came in and directed one sequence as well. And apparently he only made $1 for directing.
He doesn't need it.
They love making films, man.
They're friends.
Yeah, and they're friends, exactly. They've both been there for each other for a long time now.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, and then Sin City, I think, was incredible. There's something about that one. I mean, do you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you said you saw it in the theater, so.
It's dark. I like it.
This one doesn't seem like your type of movie, is what I really would say.
Sin City?
Yeah, absolutely, man. The comic book style, I don't know.
Oh. No, okay.
That's all.
But it's just so up, and I like Robert Rodriguez.
Okay. Well, then that makes me happy to hear. I honestly thought we were going to be divided on this one.
Oh, no, I love Sin City. I don't know if there are many that I'm going to hate on
Okay.
at all in this conversation. I'll probably like pretty much everything that we talk about. I like my cinema dark. What can I say? Especially at that time and like when I was in my early 20s, you know what I mean? Before kids and before anything, it was like, let's make it as dark as possible. I want to scar the audience.
Right on.
But I got some other stuff that we could talk about.
Yeah, I don't know who Sin City was, but I'll let you bring on to the next one.
Well,
then.
I was going to say, actually, let's just say with 2005, that same year, 2 other noirs came out. I was going to do this as like a 2005 triple feature.
Okay.
And the other ones are Rian Johnson's first movie, Brick.
I want to see the pin.
With Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yep, that made my list too.
And then Shane Black's writer-director movie, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with RDJ and Val Kilmer.
You what?
Watch it.
Okay, oh no, I'm sorry. I got a little nonplussed there.
Okay, this is crazy. I understand.
No,
Just relax.
Whoa, what is that? Is that a clue?
What do you mean?
Do you see that?
In the thing?
Can you? Ow! What were you thinking? My $2,000 ceramic Vector my mother got me as a special gift? You threw in the lake next to the car. What happens when they drag the lake? You think they'll find my pistol? Jesus. Look up idiot in the dictionary. You know what you'll find?
Picture me.
No. The definition of the word idiot, which you are.
Now you lost me.
You didn't like that one?
I hated that movie so much.
Why did you hate it?
I don't remember. I probably, it's been so long since I've seen it. I saw it right as it was coming out on DVD.
Oh my God, it sounds like user error. You should go back and watch that one again. I think you'll like it.
No, I'm telling you, I was very excited for that film. I was like, oh, RDJ.
Well, that was when he was trying to make his comeback.
Yeah, and it bombed hard. So that movie has its roots in Iron Man because that was the same weekend that Zathura came out.
Zathura.
That, oh, good Lord.
That Favreau.
Favreau directed. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so him and Jon Favreau had just come off of these huge losses. And so they were like, screw it, let's take a gamble with Iron Man. And they made an independent superhero movie that ended up making buku dollars and starting, obviously, another 10 years of franchises. It was incredible. But without this loss, we probably wouldn't have it. And I hate to say it, but then they got together and made Iron Man 3, one of the worst movies
Oh, Shane Black.
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I still, I still go back to why is Kiss Kiss Bang Bang such a good movie? Justin, go.
I would say when it came out, there wasn't anything else like it.
Okay.
Looking back now, we see that there are other movies like it, but it's very clever.
Okay.
Robert Downey Jr. was trying to make his comeback, so he was all in.
You put a live round in that gun.
Oh, yeah, there was like an 8% chance. Wasn't it just 8?
8?
Yeah.
Who taught you math?
It's a very niche movie, but it's actually very, very clever. If you get into it, if you're into the flavor, if you're in the right mood, then it totally plays. And if you're not, then of course it's not going to play. So there isn't much more that I need to say. Like, if you're not into it, you're not into it. That's fine.
Okay.
But then going back to Rian Johnson's first movie, Brick.
Now, Brick, I do really enjoy.
I love that movie.
I saw this when it first came out, I think on DVD.
Me too.
Once again, I think I was working at Blockbuster at this time.
Me too. It was my second stint.
I think this was my third store at this point. Brick, I came across and was immediately hooked into it.
I want to see the pin.
It was like, oh, this looks cool after you read the back of it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, kind of a neat indie detective sort of thing. Let's watch this.
Yeah, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt crushes it in this movie.
And he just hit you.
Like I said, he asked for my lunch money first. Good thing I brown bagged it.
I think this one is far superior to the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang that you brought up.
Okay, fair enough. And
You've helped this office out before.
No. I gave you Jer to see him eaten, not to see you fed.
Fine. Very well put.
Accelerated English, Mrs. Kasperzik.
Tough teacher.
Tough, but fair.
One of the biggest like accolades that I give to Brick is it pulls off something really, really hard, which is super stylized throwback dialogue, but
told through high schoolers,
modern characters.
It works
that would
perfectly, though,
not be talking like this in any realistic situation.
No. Not at all.
But they pull it off. It's actually really hard to make that dialogue sound good.
I think it's because the actors believe it. You know what I mean?
They owned it.
This is the same problem with doing like Shakespeare modern, right?
Yeah.
You have to go back and put yourself back into the mindset of the actors at the time. This wasn't weird dialogue. You have to believe and have, you know,
I agree.
affirmations about what you're doing and the character, even though the dialogue doesn't translate to modern times, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. And I think the kids in this movie execute well. Like I said, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is amazing. And he's got a lot of screen time in this.
The whole movie.
So he better nail it.
It's his story, yeah.
It's just following him. Yeah.
But that was the movie that put Rian Johnson on my radar.
I did.
And actually, I was in production school a couple years after that came out, and I was in like Lighting 101. And one of our assignments was to choose a scene from a movie and then recreate the lighting and shoot it and everything.
Yeah, you chose Brick.
So I immediately started thinking, well, what can we do? Let's find something indie because they didn't have any money. So let's just do an even poorer man's version of a poor man's version because that just makes sense to me. So I start looking through my indie collection of movies and I'm like, ooh, maybe something from Pulp Fiction. That's easy because most of that's really simply shot, that sort of thing. Then Brick, ooh, and that's newer. Yeah, I'm going to do something from Brick. And so we had to go pitch our idea to the teacher. And I remember standing in line and I was like, hey, what are you doing, to one of the other kids? And they were like, this awesome scene from Bad Boys 2. And I was like, wait, what? What scene? And he was like, the awesome scene in the strip club.
Oh my God, with all the flashing lights and neon. That's a complex.
I'm like, I can't wait to see what you do with that. Have at it, man.
He only put together $450,000 for that movie.
Shot it at his high school.
Was his freshman attempt, and now he's making huge stuff. I mean, Glass Knives is now his little baby and franchise.
Glass Knives is his other noir.
Yeah.
His noir double feature, but I love Knives Out. That is a great example of a neo-noir.
Did I say Glass Knives again?
That's what we're going to call it from now on, Glass Knives.
I can't ever get that movie title correct. I really have no idea what I'm doing half the time. Oh my goodness.
We need to make a Glass Knives poster.
Apparently, I love Glass Knives.
So Knives Out, I love.
Knives Out.
Great neo-noir.
I haven't seen the sequel yet, though. Have you?
I have. It's not as clever. It's more fun. They leaned on the inside joke a little bit more, like Ocean's 12, which I do like, but it's sort of leaning on the we're famous and look how much fun we're having together.
Yeah, I've seen the intro 3 times and I can't get past it. I'm like, this is so cringy and not fun to watch.
Yeah, but Knives Out is fantastic.
He did Looper. I don't know how you feel about Looper. I've seen it like twice.
I've only seen it once.
Okay.
And I feel like I should like it more than I do.
I think that's the general consensus of that one, man. I don't think you're wrong. I think there's like something very good, solid
in there
through line of it. But it just like falls a little short.
Emily Blunt's in it.
I forgot about that.
Listen up!
Nice.
She's great. So yeah, Rian Johnson's Brick. What about you? Does that bring up anything?
Well, Brick was on the list for sure.
Okay.
But I figured we would definitely hit on The Departed with this one.
My wife actually asked me, she said, is The Departed a noir?
I would consider that.
It's cops and robbers.
Yeah, and I've seen the original.
Infernal Affairs, which is also on the list.
Have you seen that?
No, not the original.
Oh, okay.
I just saw The Departed. Is Infernal Affairs good?
I thought so.
Yeah.
I, for a long while, actually kind of hated The Departed because I thought Infernal Affairs was so good.
I know what you mean.
Now I've come to appreciate what they did with it. I mean, it's an American version. This is gangsters in Boston at a different time than what Infernal Affairs is trying trying to be. Very similar. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of very good similarities that they brought over, but it's a Western storytelling. And there's a way cleaner, happier ending, if you will, to The Departed than there is in Infernal Affairs.
Well, it's an obvious ending with the rat running across the ledge.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose.
He finally got Best Director for it.
And the Oscar goes to Martin Scorsese.
And his boys gave it to him. It was Coppola, Spielberg, and Lucas who presented.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Scorsese with the Best Director award for that one.
Could you double check the envelope? Thank you. I'm overwhelmed with this honor with the Academy, and also the honor of being presented by my old friends. We go back 37 years. I'm so moved.
When I was looking at his body of work, Scorsese's got a lot of movies that I really don't just enjoy, but actually love.
Yeah.
Casino and Goodfellas are just some of my favorites, and Gangs of New York.
On my challenge, by the ancient laws of combat, we are met at this chosen ground to settle for good and all. Who holds sway over the 5 points?
If it's on, I have to finish it kind of deal.
Yeah.
It is very engrossing. And I didn't get a chance to see that one in the theater, which actually kind of has always bothered me.
It did.
Because I bet it would play so well on a big, big screen.
It was so long.
That's what preserves the order of things. Fear.
It's so long.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what we're doing now with his movies?
In typical Scorsese fashion.
But The Departed, I think, is the right length.
But that was his first one of the modern era, like post 2000, where he started his like 3-hour trend.
Okay.
And Gangs of New York was the first one that I saw in the theater. Was like, oh my God.
Casino's long.
It's 2.5.
It's worth it.
That dude just likes to shoot.
I know he does. Yeah.
He just wants to keep shooting.
The Departed has got to be at least 2 to 2.5 as well, but at least it flows really nicely.
You know, my thing with The Departed, I think that Jack Nicholson is miscast in that movie. And I always have.
Who do you think he should have been then?
I don't have an answer for that, but every time I watch it, I'm going, this shouldn't have been Jack. He's phoning this one in.
You think so, huh?
Do you feel that way? I feel like he's Nicholson enough to where no one's gonna lob that at him but me.
You got something you wanna ask me?
He scares the shit out of me in that movie, so I think it works just fine.
See, I don't think so. I can't get. Anyway, that's just me.
That's fine.
That's just the one thing that with The Departed.
You got me on that one. I think he does a very solid job.
Not saying it's a bad performance.
Okay.
Not saying anything negative, except for the fact that he's phoning it in. But also,
Heavy lies the crown.
the flip side of that is a compliment,
Sort of thing.
which is he's so good that even Nicholson phoning it in is a full performance.
I get what you're saying.
Does that make sense?
I just never heard anybody say that about it. That performance in particular. Wow.
So anyway, that's my one thing. But I felt that since it came out, so that isn't a new thing of mine. Just so you know,
I mean, and then Martin Sheen getting thrown off the building. Oh, it's
he did.
Everybody dies in that movie.
And that's a noir.
Yeah.
These are all different shades of gray.
Yeah.
There is no black and white. It's all black. Okay, so when I was looking into neo-noirs, something hit me, and I mean, no surprise, but I feel like the noir director of our lifetime is David Fincher.
Oh, so you're going to bring up 7?
In fact, I think he did a noir triple feature, which is 7, The Game, and Fight Club.
Okay.
I think there are 3 noirs in a row. And then he did 2 in a row with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Gone Girl.
I've not seen Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
I like that one.
Unfortunately.
My wife loves Gone Girl. That's probably her favorite Fincher.
That one we've seen like twice. That is that's a disturbed movie. When she kills Neil Patrick Harris is the strangest thing.
The in flagrante delicto murder was pretty intense in the theater.
I bet.
But my wife really likes that one. But Fincher to me is noir of the modern era.
Yeah.
Especially with something like 7, which is so bleak and unrelentingly severe in its doling of justice and punishment. And
nothing to be found, no joy to be found in that movie whatsoever.
Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." I agree with the second part.
And I used to watch that movie regularly, man. I'm sure we've talked about Seven ad nauseum on here. But yeah, I used to fall asleep to this movie.
But actually, you know, it's kind of interesting that you say that because I could fall asleep to that when I was younger.
There's a lot of rain. There's a lot of dark moments. There's not a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of loudness.
Yeah, there's like the building chase, but that's about it. Most of it's dialogue.
Seven for sure is one of my favorite movies of all time.
We got a box. We got a box! Call the bomb squad. I need a bomb squad. We got a box!
Obviously, the ending is just heart-wrenching, right?
John Doe has the upper hand.
Mills!
What was in the box?
What's in the box?
He finds out that she was pregnant, too.
And as I've said before, the best part of that movie is the one frame right before he decides to shoot him and pull the trigger when he's like, oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Oh God.
You know, he's putting it all together. Just the like horribleness of the entire situation is all becoming clear to him. And he's not sure what to do. And he's about to like dry heave and and then there's one frame and it's a white flash of Gwyneth Paltrow's face. And then that's when he looks up. You see he's made the decision and he pulls the trigger. And I love that.
The style. I didn't know of Fincher at the time, but I was totally drawn in with the style.
That whole movie is a you, as I've said before.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
After the horrible experience of Alien 3, went back and made some music videos, licked his wounds, then came back and was like, I'll show him. I'll show everybody.
And he did.
But actually have it be good and meaningful. And I think I think the character of Somerset, who's on the verge of retirement, I like their partnership. It was like the new kid and, you know, the old dog who's been beaten down and he's just, this is the last case and then he can retire. And he doesn't have the ideals anymore like Brad Pitt's character, who still has this idea of like,
I'm going to catch the bad guy and make a difference. Yeah.
There's justice to be given.
He is a little like doe-eyed.
You want to be a champion. Well, let me tell you, people don't want a champion. They want to eat cheeseburgers, play the lotto, and watch television.
Hey, how did you get like this?
At the beginning of that movie, he really thinks like, I'm going to show up and make a difference. And it's just the everyday grind for Morgan Freeman.
And he's the one at the end of the movie who gets driven away in the back of the cop car, just a broken man.
Whatever he needs.
Where you gonna be?
Around.
And that's just brutal.
I love that movie. I also gotta say shout out to John C. McGinley in that one as well, as one of the like hardcore cops.
Oh my God, you got what you deserved. And then the guy starts breathing. So Seven used to be one of my favorite movies to like mess with people with who hadn't seen it, to sit and watch their response at certain scenes, which brings me to another noir in which that was done to me.
Oh yeah? Which one?
My older sister came back from college when I was in high school, probably early on. So I was like 15 or 16.
We know she's going to bring you something disturbed. What is it?
No, it's not disturbing. You'll know it though. Obviously.
Let's find out.
But she put on this movie because she wanted to watch me watch the ending for that movie. And that is The Usual Suspects.
All right, you all know the drill. When your number is called, step forward and repeat the phrase you've been given. Understand?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I actually didn't add that to the list, but obviously I've seen it tons of times. So.
That is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because that was a movie at that time.
It's a good ending.
That absolutely blew me away with a twist. I had never seen a movie with a twist that good at that point in my life.
No, I don't think anyone else had. And I think it's a shame that that was one of those things that just got passed around on DVD, VHS.
And that's what happened.
When it came out, it was such a bomb at the movie theater.
That was one of the first movies that I realized, oh my God, you can spend an entire movie telling a really interesting story that was misdirection the whole time. And I love that. And Fight Club was a movie that did that too.
That's such a cool movie, though. I remember being blown away by that ending. I don't remember how I got introduced to that one. Definitely on home, cassette or DVD or something like that. I had the exact same reaction I'm sure you did, was just like,
how could you not?
What? We were all feeling what that detective was feeling in that moment when he dropped that coffee mug.
Chaz Palminteri.
Yeah.
And you know that the title is a reference to Casablanca.
No, I didn't know that.
At the end he says,
round up the usual suspects.
Gotcha.
It's a reference to Casablanca.
I didn't know that. Movie facts from Justin. Bing.
That's a great movie, by the way, Casablanca.
I've never seen it.
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? Unofficially, of course.
Make it official if you like.
What is your nationality?
I'm a drunkard.
And that makes Rick a citizen of the world.
Oh, you should, man. It's fun. Okay, so moving on from The Usual Suspects, the next year another noir came out, which I love, and that's the Coen brothers' Fargo. Is that on your list?
It is. It's the next thing on my list right here. Absolutely. I think the Coen brothers nail it when it comes to their own
style
thing. I mean, I know you just said Fincher was the noir kind of king, but Big Lebowski, aren't they all kind of despicable people in that?
The Man Who Wasn't There. I know you're a fan of that.
Yeah. There's something also to their movies, but Fargo, obviously.
Well, Miller's Crossing
jumped out,
which came out in the 90s also. That is a total noir. Have you ever seen Miller's Crossing?
No.
John Turturro, Gabriel Byrne again?
No, I have not seen this one.
That's a good one. You should watch that one. That's an actual gangster 30s throwback.
I'm talking about Frank. I'm talking about character. I'm talking about... Hell, Leo, I ain't embarrassed to use the word. I'm talking about ethics. You know I'm a sporting man. I like to lay the occasional bet. But I ain't that sporting.
Okay, all right.
Like Brick, same type of dialogue. So highly stylized, but it's Coen brothers, so it works. But you would like Miller's Crossing.
Yeah, unfortunately, that one I just have not seen.
Right on.
But I grew up with Raising Arizona. I grew up with a lot of these movies. And then, of course, No Country for Old Men was on there.
That's right.
I figured we'd talk about Fargo first.
Yeah, Fargo was the first screenplay I ever read in screenplay format.
Crazy.
I was working at a video production company in Atlanta after my first stint at Blockbuster. And that was like on the bookshelf, the actual screenplay in a book, like a published version. And so one day I was bored and I picked it up and I just started reading it because I had seen the movie. So I knew what was going to happen. But that was the first time I'd actually read it in screenplay format. Now I've written a few screenplays, but that was the first one that kind of gave me an inkling of what that was like.
Yeah, I really adored this movie when I saw it the first time. I didn't know what I was getting into.
Just total silence. Two could play at that game, smart guy. We'll just see how you like it.
I mean, this is still 96. I was still pretty young when I saw Fargo. I shouldn't have seen this one. There's a lot of violence in Fargo, but...
You're smooth, you know.
Oh, Daddy.
I hadn't put it together that this is the same people that had done Raising Arizona.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't understanding that I was sitting down for a certain style with the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
Now you know,
oh, it's Coen brothers movie.
Oh, the Coens are doing something. Oh, okay, cool. Which, for me, they're always hit or miss. It's like, I love this one, hate this one.
There's plenty of misses.
Yeah, enjoy this, can't stand that.
Totally.
And some of the ones that I don't enjoy are some other people's favorites.
I know, it's all taste.
When it comes to Fargo, I just think that Frances McDormand is just so relatable.
Here's the second one. It's in the head and the hand there. I guess that's a defensive wound.
Oh, yeah?
Where's the state trooper?
Back there, a good piece, in the ditch next to his prowler.
Okay. So we got a trooper pull someone over. We got a shooting. These folks drive by. There's a high-speed pursuit. Ends here, and then this execution type deal.
And I love how these criminals think they're being so smart with what they're trying to do. And she just simply breaks it back down and just solves the whole case while pregnant, while it's freezing cold out in this little place in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
When I was doing the research, I thought it was cool to find out that the character was written specifically with her in mind.
Yeah,
and now they've worked together on so many movies.
Well, her and Joel are married.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good to know.
That's why she's in Raising Arizona.
Right! You take that dapper off your head. You put it back onto your sister.
That's interesting because I also love her in Burn After Reading.
Burn After Reading.
Burn After Reading. Yeah, I think she is amazing.
I just got a batch from bewithmedc.com.
Oh no! Anything good?
I don't know, I'm just looking. How do I open it?
Click on that, yeah.
Okay.
What?
Oh my God. Okay. Loser.
There's another one of those movies that I just maybe could fit in here. They're all despicable people. All these terrible things happen to them.
CIA, spies, cops, robbers, all of that. That all counts as noir.
And then the ending with J.K. Simmons. Wait, just like pay whatever. Like, just
what was this all about?
What did we learn, Palmer?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know either.
He just doesn't even care.
I guess we learned not to do it again.
Yes, sir.
Well, if I know what we did.
In the theater, I was sitting next to my wife, and I started busting out laughing when he said that. I was like, that's them talking about the movie itself.
Jesus Christ.
Essentially.
How funny is that? Like, what was this about?
Yeah.
What did we do here?
What the fuck is going on? Exactly. And then I've always enjoyed Brad Pitt in his little, like,
The guy?
high energy, always burning calories kind of role in that movie.
And his dance when he's in the car. Going back to Fargo, though, when Billy Crystal, who was hosting that year, was, up there doing his...
It's the year of the independent film. Great performances, new faces among the nominees. I mean, really new faces. Who are you people?
And the whole point was that, like, they were so indie, and indie movies were not nominated. And so that was a big deal. That was kind of the beginning of kind of the indie scene in terms of the Academy Awards. Fargo was kind of the spearhead that broke through.
Oh, that's really cool.
No one knew who they were.
Didn't know that.
They weren't even in the industry.
Great direction, great scripts like Fargo, the Coen brothers, Eric and Lyle. It's a rather violent movie, and...
The people in the room were like, are these our peers? Who are these people?
They deserved it. This is one of those few times where I really agree with the Academy on their picking of something, because this was warranted. Like you said, came out of nowhere, didn't have the budget, the backing.
It's a very simple movie.
And we're able to find incredible...
Really?
It is. But they found incredible actors.
Deceptively simple.
People we are still watching to this day.
So that makes me think of Quentin Tarantino did a noir, which was the first Quentin Tarantino movie I saw in the theater, which is Jackie Brown.
Action. Pam Grier is.
Jackie Brown.
Pam Grier is.
Jackie Brown.
Pamela Grier is.
Jackie Brown.
Here we go.
And I totally consider that a noir.
Now look, all you got to do is lay in here and hold on to this, all right? I'm gonna tell him I'm going in the trunk to show him the goods. When I open the trunk, you pop up and rack this mother.
I don't like Jackie Brown.
I do.
There's something about that movie, the pacing to it.
I love that movie.
Is it too long? All right, I have some critics who think the film is too long, and I have other critics who are like, yes, man, this is a breath of fresh air. No one paces a movie like this anymore. That's totally fine, because I knew exactly what I was doing. I would like it, though, if the critics who don't like it because they think it's too long. All right, what I'd like is at least give me the credit for, like, not making a mistake. I meant to do that, all right? I meant the movie you saw. I'm really trying to pace a film differently than the average cinema is made. I wanted the film to truly have the feeling that I have when I read an Elmore Leonard novel when I'm finished with it. And that feeling is truly getting to hang out with the characters. I mean, like, hang out with them.
It doesn't really get counted.
I do not like that movie.
As a Quentin Tarantino movie, but I love Jackie Brown.
I still think Pam Grier is amazing in it, and I like Michael Keaton.
Sam Jackson, Michael Keaton.
I don't know. You
just don't get into it. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I saw that one in the theater, and
did you really? Wow.
I loved it, and I've liked it ever since. I have it on Blu-ray. I have the
Okay.
I have the soundtrack on vinyl. Great soundtrack, by the way.
I bet it does. He's really good at picking out music for his movies as well. So
I like that movie, and it's kind of the Tarantino movie because, of course, it was adapted from an Elmore Leonard novel called Rum Punch.
Okay,
and I
didn't know that.
Rewrote that story to make it a kind of a 70s throwback.
I definitely see what's going on with that.
Yeah, so it's Tarantino in a way, but I don't think that means it's bad. In fact, I really like Jackie Brown. I think it's a really, really solid piece, but I'm one of the few people that really kind of trumpets that one because it usually gets, it's in between Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill. So like, it's kind of the, the unwanted child, unfortunately, amongst his body of work. But I'll adopt that child. If you don't want Jackie Brown, you give it to me. I'll take
You'll
it.
always stand up for it. That's great. I mean, I've never actually heard anyone praise that one.
I know.
Like you said, like not even a lot of people talk about that. I only watched it because I was like, well, I should watch all of his work. So I binged all of his movies and got to that one and just... yeah.
So I like Jackie Brown.
Right on.
Does that make you think of anything?
This one feels like an outlier. It should be way more popular.
Ooh, do tell.
I think people are going to stop me anyway. But American Gangster with Denzel Washington, Russell Crowe, Ridley Scott directed that one.
Yeah. I
saw that one in the theater and was kind of captivated by it. Based on a true story, obviously exaggerated for dramatic effects and whatnot. So it's not a biopic, but it is based on the true story of bringing heroin back to New York during the 70s. After Vietnam with all the dead soldiers. It was definitely a profound story. Russell Crowe obviously gets his man, but then they like form some kind of like relationship when Denzel gets out of jail years later. And I kind of enjoyed, I don't know, the vibe, the chemistry between the cop and robber. It's kind of got that feel from Heat, where they know about each other. Like it's not some mystery. It's not like he's waiting in the wings to catch his man and this guy's out there, doesn't even know the FBI. Like they are very aware of each other's existence and what is going on and the stakes that are in there. And I think Denzel is obviously charismatic as hell. And Ridley Scott.
I think it is such an interesting choice of story for someone like Ridley Scott.
Why is that?
Being kind of an old school British director.
Okay.
And this is a very American story.
It is, yeah.
And of course you can immediately say, yes, but that's what a good director does.
Right.
Doesn't matter where they're national, which I totally understand. But there's also the reality of the situation, which is we are also kind of, a product of our environment as well. So at the same time as him being, a director that can tell different points of view, that was an interesting period and topic for him to choose. And I thought it actually worked out really, really well. And I was I'm oddly fascinated by that movie. I've watched it a few times now and I keep kind of getting drawn to it every now and again. So there's something to it.
For me, I think it's the acting. And of course, I'm a sucker for a good period piece. And this is the 70s in New York. It's definitely a vibe in a time of an era that I never got to experience. Only through film have I ever gotten the opportunity to experience that.
That's how we experience so much of the world at large now with the internet and globalization. We know a lot more of what's going on in different parts of the world, but in a large part of the 20th century, that's what cinema did, was bring the world to the masses.
Kind of, yeah.
In a way that we could see, oh, that's what it looks like. Oh, that's what that person...
That's how I experienced culture and saw the world, was through that television in my living room, basically.
You can make the argument why that's a bad thing, but regardless, that's how I learned about the rest of the world in so many ways. And especially about...
And the way that other people live, too,
I'm not special.
I grew up in a suburb.
Me too.
It was very not special, It
was boring as
It looks like every other neighborhood that I've ever visited. It's kind of annoying to see that there is no culture in where I grew up.
Yeah.
It's where white meets bread is the culture from where I grew up. So, but American Gangster.
Well, and you brought up another one that we obviously can't go without talking about, which is 1995's Heat.
I know what they're looking at? What? I mean, is this guy something or is he something? This crew is good. You know what they're looking at? What? Us.
Directed by Michael Mann with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
Okay.
Because you were just talking about...
I need to go back and revisit this because I don't have the best memory with this movie. I don't remember liking it. I remember it being 3 hours long, slow as hell, a lot of talking, and then one action sequence at the end.
Yeah, you're not going to change your opinion
okay.
based on that. But what happens when they're talking, you might appreciate a little bit more. But I can't even speak to that. You know what I mean? I'm not here to say like you should or shouldn't or will or won't or whatever. In fact, I think you have terrible taste. So I expect you to not like it.
I feel like I should revisit it though. There is a part of me that says I should revisit it as an adult.
My wife got it for me on Blu-ray recently and I just watched it. It's a great transfer.
Ooh.
Heat is essentially known
Very
for
cool.
it. Now it's more commonplace, but especially at that time, that has an insane assault rifle gunfight. They're using big ass old Vietnam era M16 assault rifles, not little ones, big ones. And that was really super, super rare at that time to have that kind of shootout. And the sound effects are so good.
I mean, I've learned so much about this movie. That's why I always feel so bad when I'm like, I don't know if I really liked that. But I was young when I saw it too.
Yeah.
And I don't think I understood a lot of what was going on in that movie to appreciate it.
More so than Heat for Michael Mann, I like Collateral with Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise.
I do like that movie. Yes, I do.
And it was shot digitally early in the digital thing to where it looks digital. Now you can't really tell. Like the sensors are so clean, it doesn't matter. You're shooting like 8K and whatever.
I know.
But at that time, it was more of like...
Oh man, yeah.
A digital camera, just, you know, cinema quality-ish. It was working on it, but Michael Mann was an early adopter of it, which he also used for the Miami Vice movie. He shot that digitally.
I was just recently talking about that movie and how I don't like that movie, but that's fine. We're not here to talk about Michael Mann movies that Chris doesn't like.
Oh, right. But Collateral is really good. I think Tom Cruise did a really good job with that.
I do like Collateral. I know that this last one is on both of our lists, and I know that we both praise this. So Memento had to be thrown into the mix.
I didn't say it because I knew it was on your list, so I was like, I'm not.
Had to make it.
I told my wife, I was like, I'm not going to put Memento on here because I know my boys got it.
This one blew my mind. This is another one of those that I didn't see in the theater. I got a chance to see it. Someone mentioned it. Everybody was always talking about that movie. It was like one of those kind of talked about in inner circles and secretively.
It was, yeah.
It wasn't super popular.
If you were a movie nerd, you knew about it.
Yeah, and that's who I heard about it from. So I sat down and watched it and was blown away by it, obviously. This movie captivated me. I think it'd take me about 5 or 6 times of watching this one.
Figure it all out.
All the way through before I think I understood what was really going on with that ending.
I was probably working at Blockbuster the first time when Memento came out, and that got passed around like through the movie nerds at Blockbuster sort of thing.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
And then Insomnia came out after that, but it was really, I went back and saw.
I have never seen Insomnia.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's a shame.
Have you seen his first movie, Following?
I've attempted to.
Which is in black and white. That's also a neo-noir.
It's a little hard for me to sit through that one.
It's Freshman.
It is.
He's trying to figure himself out.
I shouldn't be that critical of a movie, but when it's kind of making me uncomfortable because it's not done really well, it's hard for me to like focus on just the narrative and not the...
Well, then don't. That's when you take yourself out of it and just, you don't look at it on its own terms. You look at it on your terms, which is, this is an incomplete work.
Okay.
It's like watching a training video or something. You can study it without having to embrace.
I can understand that.
The narrative itself. You can be like, okay, well, the narrative's not that good, but you can you just step back and detach yourself from like wanting to enjoy it as a movie because it doesn't really play in that way, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Memento, it's actually not one of my favorite of Nolan's.
That's a surprise.
But I appreciate what he did, yeah.
I figured you'd like that one a lot more.
Well, I just want to talk about one last one before we go, and that is Ryan Gosling's Drive.
I missed that one, yeah.
I saw that in the theater when I was in production school, and it's kind of a minimalist movie.
I've heard good things.
The soundtrack is great. It's just a little off because it's done by a European director, Nicholas Winding Refn.
Okay.
Who also did Only God Forgives with Ryan Gosling as well. Did you see that one?
Nope.
Oh, it's done by the same guy.
Or even Beyond the Pines. I've got a lot of Ryan Gosling movies to catch up on for sure.
Yeah, there were a couple there in that time period that he did.
And I've heard they're good.
But Drive, I love, and I still throw it on every now and again.
Okay.
It's kind of a quiet movie. Like I said, it's kind of a minimalist movie, but it's very clean. It's very indie. I love that movie a lot.
Isn't that the one with Albert Brooks as like the mafia guy in that one too?
I used to produce movies in the 80s. Kind of like action films, sexy stuff. One critic called them European. I thought they were
totally off character, but so good in it.
When people say, well, you know, can a person who's in a comedy play a villain? You know,
people in real life who are villainous are very charming people. That's why they're successful at it.
That was one that's really stayed with me in the modern era, was Drive.
Okay.
And I've got it on Blu-ray. I still throw it on.
That sounds like a good recommendation. That's been on my, I hate how much a list of shame that I have. It's becoming a long list.
Nothing but shame.
That one's on the fridge right now because I can stream Drive. And so I think if I can, that hopefully will be watched in the next few weeks.
You'll probably think it's slow.
That's fine.
Because it is. It's minimalist.
I can deal with slow movies that have compelling narrative. Once again, No Country for Old Men. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but let's talk about a slow movie there, right?
That is a slow movie, yeah.
That movie doesn't even have a lot of music in it.
No, it's quiet.
It's a lot of quiet, a lot of it, but it works because I understand the drive of all of the characters that are on screen.
Okay.
I get what's going on, and that I can appreciate more so than a slow movie for being artsy.
That makes sense.
There's a distinct difference for me when I'm watching a movie that is just shooting for art house style rather than, hey, there's a reason why this has to be filmed and shot this way. No Country for Old Men.
And it's a Western too.
It is.
I remember when the Coen brothers won Best Picture for that, I believe, is when they, or director, one of those, but they got up and they said,
and we're very thankful to all of you out there for letting us continue to play in our corner of the sandbox. So thank you very much.
And then they walked off stage, and I was like, that's right, Joel, you tell him.
That's a good one.
And on that bombshell, that's enough noir for today.
That's enough noir for today. That's what Justin says.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's always movies that don't make
Noir Part 2.
I have tons more notes over here. We didn't get to everything on the list. So what's your favorite neo-noir film? Obviously, drop in the comments.
Yeah, please do. Tell us what you like.
So we didn't get a chance to, but this is a sponsored show. We've got cosplaycuriosities.com that have been very nice to us since the beginning of this year. They are hosting our shirts on their website as well. So if you want to support the channel, it's out there on their website. So cosplaycuriosities.com. If you use the code BTTP, all caps, you get 20% off your purchase. So go to cosplaycuriosities.com. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Please tell your friends, send people our way. If this is something that you're enjoying and you know that you've got a film lover in your life that would enjoy this as well, please send us their way.
Spread the word.
We really appreciate it. So
grassroots.
Other than that, we're having fun on the channel. We're doing other solo projects, the Hollywood highlights as well. So we're doing news every Friday. Don't forget to check those out. And of course, subscribe if you want to keep on top of all the new content we're putting out every single week. So Justin, do it.
Everyone, go watch good movies. Bye.
Bye-bye.